Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright, y'all, Boruto episode 226 review. This episode was essentially Denki versus Tsubaki, one of the episodes that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have actually been anticipating, because Denki's like one of those old fan favorites. Denki was actually involved in the first ever episode of the Boruto series. Him and his relationship with Boruto has been growing for a very long time, and of course Denki going from some absolute fodder, some ninja that no one really knows, somebody that no one really cares about in regards to actual skill and talent. Now in this episode he comes up absolutely big. I want to celebrate Denki's victory by smoking on the Tsubaki pack, but I do want to point something out. Tsubaki in this particular episode also chose to stay in the Hidden Leaf Village. This right here is an absolutely huge surprise. Not only that, Boruto and Mitsuki got eliminated, but at the end of the episode they had a Boruto versus Mitsuki face off that we didn't really get to see, and I'm mad about that. But the first thing that I definitely do have to talk about has to be the actual fight, because it was actually the star of the show. Now in this actual battle, it was very interesting. The very interesting part was, of course, Denki's metallic scientific suit. Now, I will say, I do not like this. I 100% do not like Denki, so I think it's way too robotic. Me personally, I am not necessarily opposed to scientific technology. I think Delta was very good. Kawaki is very good. Characters like that, Code, people in the Kata organization, not only that, scientific dojutsus, the ones that we did see in the Mitsuki retrieval arc, maybe the ones that Delta has, maybe some other scientific dojutsus that we do see in the future. But seeing mechanical technology like this on a ninja just does not sit right with me, and it kind of perpetuates the fact that we're now going into this cyborg robotic type of field. When characters like Delta show up, Delta kind of seems like a human, looks like a human. Same with Kawaki. I'm pretty sure at this particular point, damn near no one looks at Kawaki like a cyborg, even though he technically is. People just look at them like regular characters. Denki, however, with his suit, no one's gonna mistake him for being a regular ninja. Everybody, as soon as they seen that suit, was like, yo, what the hell is going on? And in fact, they're even asking Naruto, like, should this actually be allowed? So suits like this, it was good for the time right now, mainly because of course it was Denki's own doing. Denki isn't necessarily completely skilled in scientific technology. Don't make it that clunky, don't make it that obvious that he's of course using a bunch of technology to get a one up on his opponent. But as of right now, as I said, it's good, everything is fine, and everything is well and dandy. Now the specific moves that the actual scientific technology was doing was absolutely interesting. I think one of the first things that we have to point out is that it kind of replicated what the Sharingan actually does. This is essentially like predicting the opponent's actual movements in regards to taijutsu and just random attacks and stuff like that. But Denki himself, we kind of seen that he wasn't necessarily completely used to this. It wasn't completely prepared, mainly because Tsubaki quickly countered that and actually finessed Denki up out of his goggles. This right here is absolutely insane, but regardless, it was still a very important and a very interesting feat that Denki was actually able to do something like that, mainly because we do understand that scientific technologies, they start off like this. They start off as being very big, very clunky, very not necessarily intuitive to the human movements and designs and stuff like that. For example, we start off with a character like Ao, who is very clearly altered by scientific technology, but then the more advanced stages, we get a character like Kawaki where you don't even really notice it at all. I personally believe that this ability that Denki had in his goggles is probably going to make it into a synthetic dojutsu sometime in the future. Now, I don't necessarily think that Denki is going to be the one to actually use it, but I'm pretty sure that this right here is probably going to make its way to an actual synthetic dojutsu. And to be honest, this may have actually made its way to a synthetic dojutsu already. If you guys do recall, the Chunin clones, they all have Sharingan, so in theory they should also have this abilities in their eyes as well, which is absolutely crazy to think about. But regardless, not only that, Denki was also able to actually heighten his speed and strength, a bunch of stuff that we didn't necessarily expect from Denki. Now the actual flow of the battle was amazing to me. I think coming to the battle, a lot of people understood that there's a very good chance that Tsubaki was actually going to lose just because of the storyline. But in the middle of the actual battle, I was completely unsure. And by the way, the reason why I say a lot of people kind of thought that Tsubaki was going to lose is that there is a trend during this whole arc where only one person from every single team made it to Chunin, and that's exactly what happened. So of course, Wasabi and Team 5 had already beaten Iwabe, so it would make sense that Tsubaki wouldn't necessarily be a Chunin. Denki himself would be the only person to actually be Chunin in his team, so it just matched up very well. But regardless, the riders made it very interesting in this battle, because we seen Tsubaki actually start to do some very good damage on Denki, completely destroyed his whole scientific ninja technology suit, but Denki took it upon himself and actually ended the battle, which is a very nice touch to me. One thing that I definitely should actually say though is I think the storyline and the narrative kind of took away from the common sense battles. For example, we think that obviously Tsubaki should beat Denki. I think that Tsubaki should have been a Chunin, but of course storyline matters, and of course Denki is now a Chunin. Not only that, also Iwabe, this right here is just my personal opinion, should have 100% beat Wasabi, and I don't necessarily think that they should have actually stuck with the storyline of, hey, one character from each team is going to be a Chunin, but that's besides the point. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Now, not only that, there's some other big things that did actually happen in this episode as well. This right here was super underrated, and it's so underrated I didn't necessarily mention it in my intro, but Kawaki was actually being monitored by the characters from the Hidden Sand Village. This right here I kind of thought was possible, but I didn't necessarily think that Gaara would kind of not fully trust Naruto like that to give him all the actual breakdowns and all the actual information about Kawaki, so he sent his son and his son's team. This right here was absolutely amazing. I think that Shinki definitely came to the Hidden Leaf Village wanting to actually see Boruto, but wouldn't necessarily mind if he actually did fight Kawaki as well, and that's exactly what he did last episode. Now, specifically, we don't necessarily know exactly how big of a gap that is in regards to Shinki and Kawaki, mainly because we do understand that Kawaki had no prior knowledge to what Shinki was able to do, and of course, Shinki's abilities are something completely different. Kawaki is relatively normal. The only thing that he could really do was shadow clones and also fireball jutsu. His physical abilities are completely through the roof for a character of his level, but of course Shinki's a little bit different. Shinki has the hack, Shinki has the iron style, he has magnet release, and of course a lot more comprehension of chakra than a character like Kawaki. So I think eventually, I've been saying this for a very long time, that fight is going to happen again. I don't necessarily think the gap is going to be that big to where Shinki's just going to be normally bodying Kawaki in about 5 to 10 seconds, and hopefully we do actually get to see a scene where Shinki goes back to Gaara and actually tells him exactly what he did find out from Kawaki. Gaara being one of my favorite characters, probably number 2 behind Pain. Any sort of Gaara concept for me would definitely be a very good sighting. Now, not only that, we definitely do have to talk about Boruto and Mitsuki being late to the Chunin exam and them potentially having to fight each other in the Chunin exam. This right here was out of line. I think this right here is out of line. I don't think the matchup should have been Boruto versus Mitsuki, mainly because they're both on the same exact team. The goal is for everybody in the actual team to become a Chunin, and that really can't happen, of course, if they're both fighting each other. But don't get me wrong, a Boruto versus Mitsuki fight would definitely be interesting, which is why I'm so pissed at the Boruto writers for actually having Boruto and Mitsuki fight at the end of the episode, not having us see anything in that actual battle and just ending it like that. Now, we understand a Boruto versus Mitsuki fight has to be animated to damn near perfection. It has to be absolutely impeccable writing. Of course, we do understand there's definitely a possibility that Mitsuki goes into Sage mode when Boruto goes into his Karma Seal mode. But here's the thing. This isn't the first time that the Boruto franchise has done something like this. If you guys do recall, back around Boruto episode 130, a very big fight that we were anticipating for almost a year at that particular, matter of fact, over a year at that particular point, was an Urashiki versus Sasuke battle, and it happened. We just didn't see it. We just didn't see it. Don't get me wrong, I think that Urashiki versus Sasuke wouldn't at this stage wouldn't necessarily be that intriguing, man, because a lot of people have lost respect for Urashiki, but at that particular time he was literally a star. He was the only other Otsutsuki member that we did actually know, and from what we did see, he completely bodied Tonetti and essentially had a Rinnegan that was displayed to us, and we had absolutely no idea what its abilities were. So at that particular time we thought that this man Urashiki was an absolute demon. Come to find out that we do actually get the fight, but we just do not see it. Majority of it happened off screen. Boruto pulled up to the Hidden Sand Village. Amaterasu's flying everywhere. Urashiki is up in the air. Gaara is with him as well. Gaara has no security detail, no surprise, mainly because Kazekage are as protected as Chicago citizens. This right here is, again, a theme that we don't necessarily want to see in Boruto. The big fights should always be present. The big fights should always be shown to us, and the big fights should always be considered and taken care of with absolute perfection. But we do get the Chunins in this episode. I'm super happy for Sarada, happy for Haoki, happy for Denki, and happy for Wasabi. Hopefully in the future, this right here is definitely going to be a move for the better. We do understand at this particular point there's probably not necessarily going to be much Jonin involved in the missions that we do actually go on. That right there is kind of different for the next mission that Team 7 is going to go on. We have spoilers about that, but let me know what you guys think about this episode in the comment section below. Me personally, I liked it. I think that Denki's suit is a little bit too much, but eventually it will get a lot better, and I think that Tsubaki staying in the Hidden Leaf Village is something very impeccable as well. But it's been your boy Bar B, and we out.
It's a knife.